Welcome to the Black Box App Podcast. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of East Coast Executives, the world's leading diversity recruitment firm and developer of Black Box, the career consciousness portal for Black men. I'm extremely excited today to have on the Black Box App Podcast with us, Edward Amos, financial advisor, wealth management professional extraordinaire. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Man, look, it's Financial Literacy Month. We got you on, of course. I know you're leading the charge in that space, but I find it really interesting. And I want to jump right in because I know we don't have a ton of time. I could spend a whole hour talking to you, but I want to speak about the importance of financial literacy in the communities that we exist in all communities, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, there is nothing more important than understanding what's coming in, what's going out, understanding just the basics, right? Just in terms of creating that budget, making sure that you are being good stewards of your money, right? And understanding how to use credit, understanding how to create wealth, right? And making sure that we are passing that baton to the next generation, in a better spot than we got it, right? Leaving that legacy behind is something that I always stress, on my clients, right? Because my job is to challenge my clients, right? It's challenge them to save, to invest, and to protect what they got, right? And all while making sure that we build tax efficient wealth. And there's just nothing more important than that, for the future of our community. And that's why I do what I do.
Man, you just used a term I'm not familiar with, I guess, in putting it together, tax efficient wealth. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So that's one of the major risks that we all face. That's one thing that makes us all cousins, is because Uncle Sam, right, it makes us all related, right? So they're always going to get their piece, right? So it's either now or later. And right now, the tax code is as friendly as it's going to get for the foreseeable future. We understand where it's at now, and we all know that it's either going to go up in the future or it's going to go way up, right? So we always want to make sure that we're planning for that inevitability by having assets that are in places that are going to be, tax advantaged, tax-free, because we don't want that down the road to derail us or cause us to work longer because now taxes have increased by 30% and we didn't account for that, or having us, change our lifestyle when we're trying to live off the assets that we've accumulated over our working career. So we want to make sure that we are being very strategic about where we put our dollars, why we're putting our dollars in certain vehicles, to make sure that down the road, when we access those dollars, we're not caught off guard by Uncle Sam with his hand out.
Man, I can appreciate that that knowledge and you sharing that expertise with us, because I think that's a really important piece. All right, so speaking of sharing, I want you to share with me, man. We had a conversation that I thought was so interesting. As a recruiter, I always like to hear about people's career journeys, and you have a really interesting one. So I'd like you to kind of walk us through what you did in your past career and kind of up to where you're at now.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I feel like I've lived, two careers in a short amount of time. And so I was always very focused, when I got to college. I knew what I was going to do. My mom was a teacher. She was in education. So I was like, look, I'm going to go into education. So I graduated from college, got my first job, and got into the classroom. And I essentially spent about 12 years in the field of education. So I was a teacher, became a counselor, became a dean of students, became an assistant principal, became a high school principal, all within 12 years. So I was very focused, and I always wanted, to make sure that I was on top of the latest this or that, right? And I got more degrees than a damn thermometer, right? Just getting all these degrees to get all these positions, and the higher I got, because I was young and I guess I was a bit, naive, because my my bright eyes just wanted to change kids' lives, right? I got into the field to make a difference, to make an impact, working on the South Side of Chicago, working in some of the poorest, underserved schools, and I've worked in some of the most wealthy schools as well. I've seen it from both ends.
Okay.
And I always just wanted to make an impact no matter where I was at. But the higher I got, the more political it got, right? And the less it became about kids and families, the more it became about politics, and that's what drained me. And I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy that wants to help people. Um, and so I knew that I needed to make a change because it was not fulfilling. And I thought that I was going to be an assistant superintendent, state superintendent, and working at the federal level. Just that was my career track. And then my attorney at the time actually advised that I take a look at financial services. Now, prior to that conversation, I never gave this world one single thought. And then I did, of course, a Google search, right? Financial services. And, a couple of different firms popped up. I interviewed at a couple of different places.
Sure.
And chose Northwestern Mutual because of their values, how the company is positioned, how the company was founded, what they believe in. It fit right in line with how I want to serve my clients. And 5 years later, is the best career move I've ever made.
I have a question. Is that attorney a client of yours now?
No, he is a client, but not of mine.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I wonder what it was that he saw. Or did he or she share what it is, what they saw in your skill set that made them believe that that was a good avenue for you?
Yeah. He did. So he basically said, he's like, you are such a giving person. You are great with people. And that's what financial services is all about, right? It's about giving of yourself, right? Because I'm giving knowledge every single day that I'm with my clients, right? And I care about my clients. I truly do. Because 95% of them, are Black professionals, executives, attorneys, business owners. And I pour my heart and soul into that every single day. And he saw that because that's just how I approach, life. That's how I approach my family. It's how I approach my career. And he saw that, and he said, you would be fantastic in this area because it's all about people. But again, at that time, like I had no idea. I was like, what is financial services? I have no idea. Like I've met with some people in the past, about 403Bs and stuff like that, but I've never really, gave it, not even one single thought, but until that conversation.
So if you look at that skill set, and that's like an innate skill set, but if you were looking at kind of your soft skills or things that you kind of acquired, what are the things that you believe you either already had or the things that you developed that have made you successful in the current career path as a wealth management professional?
Hands down, it's my listening. It's my listening skills.
Okay.
Because
as a teacher, you probably brought a lot of that to the table.
Absolutely. Because, what I do, what my approach is like, is that I seek to understand before I am understood, right? So I'm coming to these meetings and these conversations wanting to understand who you are, what's important to you, right? Where do you want to be in 5 years and 10 years? I ask these prompt questions, right? Very short, but they're open. And then I close my mouth and I listen, right? Because everybody loves to talk about their story, right? And I'm a person, in my clients' lives that knows so much about them, their fears, their anxieties, their ambitions, right? Their financial situation, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I protect that information and I make them feel comfortable being vulnerable, right, with that information, because that's a lot of information to give out to somebody, to trust somebody. So because I allow them to listen, or that I allow them to talk and to be heard, right, and to be understood, is I think my my magic sauce in this,
Gotcha.
right, is just listening to folks and making sure that I'm reflecting, what they're telling me with the plans that I create for them.
So as you've kind of, I guess, advanced in this career journey, how has your advice changed from the advice you would give children when you were in the world of education to the advice that you give them in the world of that you would give in the world of finance? Like, if you're putting that lens on and saying, you know what, this is probably what you need to know. How has that changed? And if so, if it hasn't, let me know that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I used to always tell my kids, in the school buildings that once you leave my four walls, right, there is no one in this world that is going to be in a position of your teachers, of the people that are here. And what I mean by that is that every single person in this building, right, is working towards your success. You will not find that in the real world, right? No one cares about you in the real world. So you take advantage of this opportunity that you have here with us, right? And allow us to pour into you so you can blossom into the person that you choose to be. So that's what I used to tell my kids, that the world is cold, right? So like, make sure that you take advantage of this warmth and loving, in your environment, because I didn't know anything else outside of education. But coming to, and I can't speak about this for every firm because I've got friends that work at Merrill Lynch, and it's not like it is here at Northwestern Mutual. So here at Northwestern Mutual, it is very much like that. And even from my perspective as a business owner, right, I have a great opportunity because of my success that I have achieved. I have a great opportunity of giving back to young business owners coming up and me mentoring them, right, and me investing the time and energy in helping them create their practice as a field director, making sure that they are doing the things that they need to be doing. Um, and as for my clients, like I'm their accountability coach, right? Like I tell them that all the time. Like, that is my job, is to hold you accountable to your future, to your goals, right? Like it and so every time we meet, I'm challenging you. So like, what progress have we made? And I don't expect perfection, of course, but it's just about progress, one step at a time. And so it's now that I'm in this position, there are great folks out there that are going to pour into you, that are going to care about you.
Okay.
So I wasn't exactly accurate, talking to my high school kids.
You got to just adjust it just a little. All right, there's a few other people out here that probably care about you. All right, so let's talk about it from this standpoint. So, if you're looking at yourself as, because you have a business, right, and you have people that you're responsible for, and you're responsible for making sure that they can achieve their goals, right? So let's speak about that in its totality and just look at it from the standpoint of a Black man out here speaking to people that are entry level in their careers. Is there any advice that you have for them?
Yeah, so I do have to be careful about advice because I am a fiduciary.
I got you. Well, no. Not necessarily financial advice.
Okay,
Just
okay.
general career advice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. So, at the end, at the end of the day, it's not about what you make. I know everyone's heard this. It's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, right? But then you want to take that a step further, right? Because it's not just about holding on to it, in the bank, or holding on to it in this account or that account, right? It's about being, very strategic about where you put those dollars. So the more that you can save on the front end of your career, the more that you can do to set yourself up, the easier things will get. Because then now you can reach a point, and I don't like to use the word retirement because like I feel like it's an outdated word because most people want to stay active, they want to do things, but they don't want to have to stress about money. So what I tell my clients is like, when do you want to be financially independent where work becomes a choice? right? Where you can follow your passions and things like that. So the more that you can do early in your career, right, just getting started, if you're putting 20% of your income away, right, strategically, of course, and work with a financial advisor, don't do it on your own. By the time you get into your mid 40s, right, and I've got some clients, kids who I'm working with to make sure that they get into that position. By the time they get into their mid 40s, like they'll be able to walk away from work and not have to work again.
Gotcha.
And work becomes a choice. So they never have to feel stuck. They never have to feel like they have to do this, that, or the other. They can enjoy life to its fullest. And if they want to volunteer more, if they want to get involved with the church, the community, whatever it is, that's not going to give them financial a windfall, but a spiritual one, or just fulfilling your passion is so much more important that they can focus on those things. So again, right when you get into that career, start putting those dollars away strategically, and the world will open up to you down the road.
So the analogy is early in your career, invest in yourself, right? Is that if we're looking at it from that standpoint, just not a dollars thing, but just a career advice thing, kind of invest in yourself, and then maybe nurture those relationships for betterment later on in your career.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
All right. That makes sense to me. All right. So we're seeing a lot of people, I get this often as a recruiter. I see a lot of people when we go out to places, and now more than ever, I think people are aware of wealth management professionals and financial advisors. I don't know if that was a popular job when I was younger. So now I go and people are really saying, now my plan is to work, and my son, right? That's his thing, right? Finance, all about it. So as you're seeing more of that, your overall feelings from an industry standpoint, do you see, like, what's tech going to do to that industry, or how's it going to improve the way people can support their clients in that industry?
Yeah. So the one thing that I love that is happening right now is that there's more folks that look like us, right? Like advisors are now more reflective of the broader community than they have ever been. And some firms are doing better than others, right? In terms of recruiting, more women, like including people of color, right? Making sure that they have a diverse field force that's going to reflect, America essentially. So that is the greatest part of it. So that's probably why, more people are starting to talk about it, because it's more accessible for more people. Like it's not just the blonde hair, blue eyed, straight laced, tie. It's not just that anymore, right? It has a different face, like literally has a different face, because like I am still a very, very small, like especially at the levels that I'm at in my career, like there are very few of us, right? And there's very few of us in general, but it's like 10 times better than it was 10 years ago. Yeah. Which is great. So it's only going to get better as we move forward.
And know what? I don't mean to jump in, but even the customer base to a certain extent might be widening for people of color that are looking to kind of start their business. I know a lot of times people work with people that, that they know or that they feel comfortable with. And sometimes in this country, that there's a direct line across cultural and racial lines where comfortability lies. So with that being said, I'm just wondering if maybe the pool's a little wider as well, so you're able to support more people coming in.
Yes, because again, the single most important factor in the relationship between an advisor and advisee is the relationship. It has to be genuine. You have to like your advisor. If you don't, it is not going to work. Like I tell my clients that all the time. If there's ever a point in time that I call and you're like, oh man, is this guy calling? It's done. It's done. Just find somebody else. You're not going to hurt me. Go ahead and move on, because it's not about me. It's about them. There's nothing more important than connecting with that person on a genuine level. Because I have clients that invite me to stuff all the time, and I can't always make it, of course, right? Weddings and all types of things, right? Like, and I'm always giving gift for events and things like that, right? So liking your advisor, having that relationship, a genuine one, and being open to building trust. Like, there's nothing more important than that relationship. Because like once you have that, then all else will fall into place. If you trust that person, you like that person, and you enjoy spending time with that person. And then again, that's why it's more accessible, because there's different folks in our field now. So now people, like, and I'm not saying that black and white can't work together. Of course, I have white clients, I have Asian clients, Hispanic clients, everybody, right? But it's just about finding the people that you connect with, and a lot of the times, I mean, those are black folks.
Right.
One, give us the benefit of the doubt, right? For one, at least they let you in the door.
Sure.
And then it's up to you to, make sure you can stay, of course. But that has a lot to do with it.
So I know we spoke, and you've built a pretty impressive team. And I'm just wondering what your advice is for individuals, entrepreneurs, people in the wealth management space, people in any space where they're looking to add to their team, not only to grow the business, but also to delegate some of those responsibilities. How are you able to do it? And what is your advice to people that are looking to kind of grow?
Yeah. So my like blanket advice is just stay in your lane, right? Know what you're good at, know where you thrive, right? And understand the things that you're not good at, or things you don't like doing, or things you shouldn't be doing,
Okay.
right? Because like I can easily pay someone $30 an hour to do, certain jobs that, I should not be doing, because my time is more valuable meeting clients than I can expand the business. So every time I'm confronted, with a new advisor who's scared to hire, their first employee, or they're timid, like, oh, I don't know, it's a lot of money, I'm going to be spending money, But the one thing we have to look past is that it's not spending money when you are investing into your business, right? So whenever you make an investment, there's going to be a return on that investment. So when you hire a person to do administrative tasks, that frees up your time, right? So that person is organizing things for you, and like doing those administrative tasks, calling clients, doing this, doing that. Then you are working with clients, you're meeting with clients, thus bringing in more business for that person to do. And then you hire like another person. But like another key piece of advice that I've gotten was hire before you need to, because when you need to, you're already behind.
You're already behind. Yes.
Yeah, because that means that things are falling through the cracks. And you're scrambling and you're overworked and and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. So hire before you need to. So I have a day. Usually it's on Monday. Like, I keep a light schedule on Monday. It's usually like 2-3 client meetings. But Monday's my day to work on the business, not in the business meeting with clients. It's to work on the business. So I understand where I'm at, where I'm at for the quarter, what's my projections looking like for, like the next quarter and the following year. When am I going to need to strategically hire this next person based on our trajectory, right? So like when we're making those adjustments now, we just hired a person, which we're excited about. She's going to be starting on the April 17th. I'm looking at my calendar. Yeah. But we're already now thinking about hiring an additional person in Q3 because of our trajectory. So you always need to hire before you need it, because then that person can add the value and you can keep on growing on your trajectory instead of slowing down, right? And then try to scramble to hire somebody, because you should always hire very slow, and find a key fit. And if that person doesn't work out, I've also been told, this may sound harsh, but fire fast, hire slow, ensure it's a good fit, for the mentality that they share the same value system as you, and then everything else can be taught, right? But if they have the right attitude and the right values, and if they care for people, like, they will fit on my team. And so that's what we look for.
Man, that's amazing. As we start to kind of transition and close out here, I'd like to know if there are any resources, books, podcasts, anything that you can offer to our listeners to say, hey, this might be something that could add value.
Yeah. So a popular book that that I tell my clients to read is The Psychology of Money. It's just a great. It's an easy read. You could probably read it, in a week or so, but it's a great, easy read, just talking about how to look at and think about and view money. Another one, it's not such a, I mean, it's a thicker book. It's The Millionaire Next Door. Again, it's very practical in terms of, the psychological perspective of the average millionaire. That's a great book, but it's a hefty one, but it's
Sure.
a good book. In terms of podcast, I listen to a podcast every single morning when I'm in the gym. It's part of my routine. 6
Okay.
a.m. I'm in the gym and I got the podcast in my ear, always trying to grow, always trying to learn, always trying to develop. Mostly mine are around geared towards advisors.
Okay.
But ones that one that I've heard that's not just for advisors, is mostly around just like expanding your thoughts. So like Ed Milet's got a pretty good one where he talks about, he has really good guests on where they talk about just expanding your horizons in many different facets of life, from health to finance to all types of topics. But mainly the podcast that I listen to will probably put most people to sleep. It's just about finance.
You'd be surprised, man. There's a gentleman that was working here at WNYC. He's from the UK, and I think he's back over there, maybe working with the BBC. But he introduced me to a Malcolm Gladwell podcast.
Oh yeah.
I like Malcolm Gladwell, but I wasn't necessarily a podcast listener. And then he said, "Well, hey, if you like this, listen to Freakonomics as well, another podcast."
Another one.
So, it's interesting. I probably wouldn't have found them without his guidance. So you probably guided some people in the right direction here today.
Absolutely. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure. I'm so happy to do this, and anytime that you want to do this again, just let me know.
And I appreciate you so much, Edward. Listen, for my listeners that just want to stay connected, want to know a little bit about what you have going on, what's the best way for them to kind of stay abreast on all things Edward Amos?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a pretty big presence on LinkedIn, so you can always find me on LinkedIn. It's just my full name. So if you Google me, you'll find my website. And you'll see my LinkedIn profile. Like I'm always posting stuff on LinkedIn, but it's not necessarily geared towards advice, right? Because it's so individualized, right? It's just geared towards just kind of general information. But if you ever want to contact me, all my contact information is on my webpage. It's on my LinkedIn page. Just hit me up.
Well, one of the reasons we do this podcast is because it's not always about advice. Sometimes it's just knowing someone's there. So we're happy to know that you're there and you're waving the flag for diversity in the wealth management space. I want to thank you so very much for joining us today on the Black Box App podcast.
My pleasure.